So, you guys ready for another pretty good double feature? I sure am. What's up? What's happening? What's going on? Welcome back to Anime Station. Your motor says your favorite theme of the mission, including the sponge lives on the pineapple under the sea, as well as TV and movies. I am your host, Jackson Small. Welcome back to SpongeBob Month Chapter 5. And we are, like I said, having another good double feature. It's not as good as the last one, because we don't have any great episodes this time, but we still have two pretty good episodes to talk about. Blackjack and Blackened Sponge. Two pretty good episodes. I'm excited to talk about them, so let's not waste any time. Get straight into Blackjack. It's strange to me how little this one's talked about. This has been an episode I've always really liked. It's not a great episode, no, and it does have a little bit of mid-season SpongeBob flanderization. But once you get over that hurdle, you're in for a pretty good episode. I've always really enjoyed this one, and I don't understand why it's so rarely talked about. And we get to meet another member of SpongeBob's family. I think the first time in a while we've gotten to do that, so... yeah, there's a good bit to talk about with this episode, so let's talk about it. So, in this episode, SpongeBob has to deal with his cousin Blackjack, who has apparently kidnapped his parents and his snail Gary. And he's terrified of facing Blackjack, and he has all these memories of what Blackjack did to him when they were kids. Yeah, it's one of those stories. And it has a pretty funny ending, but we'll get there when we get there. So, we get to meet another relative of SpongeBob, which is pretty cool. We get to see some interesting little dark humor jokes, specifically with the ransom notes, and how it actually plays into the ending of the episode, which makes it even better. And the way that they treat this whole thing like a big, dark, serious situation, only to give us a resolution that it was all bait and switch. And it's not in a way where it's cringy, but it is in a way where it does feel a little bit forced. Just a little bit. So, highlight for this episode, it's Uncle Captain Blue. It has to be. This guy, every second he was on screen, I really liked him. He was a really cool character, he had a great design, and I really liked his voice acting. I don't know what it is, I just really liked this character. He legit surprised me how much I liked him. I thought in the second watch I'd be like, okay, maybe this guy's not as good as I remember, and maybe this episode will fall off on me a little bit. But no, the episode has still held up, and he is still the best part of it. Love Uncle Captain Blue. I wish we got to see him in more episodes, but I think this is the one and only time we get to see him appear. Huge shame. He is a great character that I would love to see get explored. And then, as I said for the ending, well, it turns out it was a big party to celebrate Blackjack getting out of jail. And Blackjack himself is the size of SpongeBob's shoe. Bit of a weird resolution, but okay. So, yeah, this was a pretty good episode. It did take itself mostly seriously. The ending is a little bit rushed and does have a little bit of that mid-season SpongeBob stupidity that would end up becoming annoying. But it's not to the point of ruining the episode or making me feel like my time is wasted. You know what I mean? Overall, this episode's a 7 out of 10. It's a pretty good episode. I've always really enjoyed this episode. And it's cool to see a bit more SpongeBob's family. So, yeah. Pretty good episode. Definitely check this one out. Alright, now let's move on to the second episode of our review, which is Blackened Sponge. This is a bit of a weird situation with this one, because it's an episode I like, it's an episode I've always really enjoyed personally, but at the same time, it's an episode that I never remember the name of. I can't explain it. It's just like, I remember the episode, but I don't remember the title of the episode. I thought for a sec this was like a Season 6 episode or something, but no, it's from Season 5, and it's called Blackened Sponge, apparently. Yeah, a bit weird we have two very similar titles that are sister episodes, right? I find that pretty strange, to say the very least. So let's dive into Blackened Sponge, and it's another pretty good episode. So in this episode, SpongeBob has an accident in the bathroom that causes him to have a black eye. And because he is a little bit self-egotistical, he decides to make up a story about getting beat up by a giant evil fish. We'll call him that. Giant evil bank robber fish. And he keeps coming up with these fantasies, only to find out that this guy he keeps having imaginary scenarios about is real. And then it leads into a really weird ending. Yeah, that's pretty much the episode. It's SpongeBob lying about how he got a black eye, and then forced to confront with the truth, and then, well, getting his comeuppance, but in a very strange way. So, my highlight for this episode, it's all the fantasies that he comes up with for all these different scenarios, like having using his karate skills, something we'd kind of see come back a little bit later on, I think season 9, when Squidward gets into karate for self-defense. Squid Defense, that's the name of the episode. Thank you. Squid Defense. That's when we'll see that one come back. And then, there's also the train thing in the beginning, where we have Giant Buff Bob. That part's pretty funny. And he just keeps coming up with these really weird, crazy fantasies to try and make himself look tougher than he actually is. And then some of them themselves have a punchline, like the one he's talking about with Squidward, and the way that he says he got a black eye because he poked his eye out with a straw. Oh, that's just good humor. So why is the ending weird? Well, it's because it's all settled by a game of rock, paper, scissors. Yes, I'm not joking. It's as stupid as it sounds. Trust me. But while it is stupid, it's somehow satisfying, because SpongeBob gets his comeuppance and more than likely gets beat up by this stranger for making lies and rumors about him. So, yeah, this episode has a fair bit of issues. Like, I do think they get a little bit repetitive with the way that SpongeBob tells all these fantasies and tales that aren't true. And, what's the other thing? Aside from the weird ending. Oh, we have a little bit of mid-season stupid SpongeBob, too, because, you think he'd be smart enough to just accept that this was an accident, a literal accident, not just instead spin it into a story to try to make himself look tough. It's funny, but it doesn't really feel like the SpongeBob we know. I don't know, maybe it's just me, and I've just been watching this show for too long. Final verdict for Blackened Sponge is a 6 out of 10. It's a pretty good episode, I've always enjoyed it, but for some reason I just always forget its name. And now I kind of understand why, it's a very generic name. But outside of that, another pretty good episode. Okay, final thoughts and rankings. Let's get them done. Once again, pretty good double feature. Not as good as the last one, because we don't have any great episodes this time, but we have 2 good episodes. I don't think either of them deserve to be in shame, per se, but I do think one is better than the other, so we're still going to do rankings anyway, but just know that second place is not in shame. So, coming in second place by 1 point is Blackened Sponge. It's a really creative episode. I just feel like it's out of character for SpongeBob. Maybe that's just me. But I do love the scenarios, there are some pretty funny moments, and I've always just really enjoyed it. Speaking of really enjoyed it, Blackjack is easily number 1 here. It's only a 1 point difference, but I definitely enjoy and remember Blackjack more. From Uncle Captain Blue, to Blackjack himself, to the ransom letters, to the weird resolution at the end, I just always remember this episode more for some reason. Yes, it's not a great episode, but it gets pretty admirably close. I've always really enjoyed this one, and I hope more people give it more attention. It's one of the gems of Season 5. Well, that's it. thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this almost every single day. And you better get your cowboy hats on, because next time we gotta talk about another special. And it just so happens to be one of the best SpongeBob specials of all time. Yeah, we got something legitimately great coming tomorrow. So, I'll see you guys tomorrow when we tackle the rootin' tootin' extremely enjoyable extravaganza that is Pest of the West. See you then. Yeehaw! We cannot take it anymore. The time has come.